All right, let's get right into it. For the longest time, marketing had a pretty simple job. Make the sale. That was it. The transaction was the finish line. But today, the whole game has changed. We're going to explore how the world's biggest brands stopped chasing single purchases and started building long-term relationships.
So, this slide right here, it basically sums up the entire shift. On the left, you've got the old way of thinking. Get the customer to buy something, and boom, you're done. But the new way, what we call relational marketing, or CRM, sees that first sale as just the beginning. The goal isn't a one-and-done deal. It's about building a real connection that actually lasts.
So, how does this all work? What's the secret sauce that makes this new approach so powerful? Well, it all comes down to this amazing feedback loop called the satisfaction virtuous cycle. And trust me, it's called that for a reason. When it's working, it's a true win-win for absolutely everyone.
Let's start with your side of the bargain, as the customer. It all begins when you buy something, and it actually does what you wanted it to do, maybe even better. That satisfaction makes you think, hey, I'd buy that again. Do that a few times, and you start to develop a genuinely positive attitude toward the brand. And here's the real payoff for you. Your future decisions get so much easier. You don't have to spend all that time and energy researching because you already know who you can count on.
Okay, and for the company? This is where things get really interesting. See, a happy customer isn't just one sale. They're an asset, a valuable one. They buy more, they tell their friends, and you know what? They're way less likely to jump ship just because a competitor has a tiny discount. This all leads to better profits, which means the company can pay its people better, and this is the crucial part. Plow that money right back into making their products even better, which of course starts that whole amazing cycle all over again.
Now, to really get a grip on how this works in the real world, it helps to think of it exactly like a human relationship. Seriously, it has these clear stages, from that kind of awkward first date all the way to a deep, long-term commitment.
And here's the basic roadmap for that journey. It kicks off with the introduction phase, where the #1 goal is building trust. From there, it moves into a growth stage, which is all about fostering loyalty. And finally, if all goes well, it hits the maturity stage, where the relationship is defined by real, actual commitment. So let's break down each one.
So that first phase is all about trust. And you can't just ask for trust, right? It has to be earned. It's built, bit by bit, through one positive experience after another. It's that feeling you get when you're confident that a brand is going to deliver on its promises every single time.
And earning your trust? Oh, it pays off big time for companies. When you trust a brand, you're just more willing to work with them. You'll actually open their emails, you'll give them feedback when they ask for it, and you might even become a champion for them, leaving good reviews or sharing their stuff online.
So moving on to stage 2. Once that trust is there, the relationship can start to grow into loyalty. And this is a really important point. True loyalty is not just buying the same thing over and over out of habit. It's not autopilot. It's an active, conscious choice you make because you are genuinely convinced that this one brand is better than all the others.
A huge piece of loyalty today is what we call engagement. Basically, it's a measure of how involved you are with a brand. Are you just a silent buyer, or are you actually part of the conversation? Are you following them on social media, commenting on posts, showing up to their events? That intensity, that connection, it's a huge sign of a growing relationship. And when a relationship hits that mature stage, we start to see commitment. This is a deep, lasting desire to keep the relationship going strong. A committed customer doesn't just buy stuff. They're willing to cooperate, maybe by beta testing a new product or joining a focus group. They actively want the brand to win. And this is the holy grail, the deepest connection possible. Identification. This is what happens when a brand becomes part of who you are, part of your identity. You don't just use the product anymore, you wear the logo like a badge of honor. At this point, you are a walking, talking spokesperson for the brand. And that's marketing that money just can't buy.
Okay, so that's the story of a customer relationship. But how do companies actually manage all this? How in the world do they know where you are on that journey, from being a first-timer to a diehard fan? Let's get into the how-to.
So, step 1 is all about classification. It makes sense, right? Companies can't treat every single person the same way. So they use data to figure out who's a brand new acquaintance, who's a loyal friend, and maybe who's starting to drift away.
A classic way they do this is with something called the RFM model. It sounds technical, but it's actually pretty simple. It's a snapshot of your relationship based on what you buy. R is for recency. How recently did you buy something? That tells them if you're still active. F is for frequency. How often do you buy? That hints at your engagement level. And M is for monetary. How much do you spend? That shows your direct financial value.
But the really smart companies know that what you do is only half the story. They also want to know what you think and how you feel. So they'll use things like surveys to try and measure these deeper indicators. Things like, do you trust them? How emotionally attached are you to the brand? And do you feel like their values line up with your own? So once a company has a pretty good idea of who their customers are and what stage they're in, they can start to take action. This part is all about proactively nurturing that customer bond and making sure the relationship stays healthy and strong.
A super common example you've definitely seen is the loyalty program. These things are designed specifically to reward you for coming back again and again. You know, your coffee shop punch cards, your airline miles. It's a simple, structured way for a company to say, hey, thanks for sticking with us.
But what happens when things go south? That's where retention programs come into play. These are designed to stop customers from leaving, either because they had a bad experience or because some competitor is dangling a shiny new offer. This could be anything from a special discount to a personal call to fix a problem.
And finally, you've got referral programs. This is where a company basically asks its happiest customers to play matchmaker. By giving you a reward for bringing in your friends, they not only get a great new customer, but get this, research actually shows it makes your own loyalty to the brand even stronger. It's a total win-win. So I want to leave you with a question to think about. The next time a brand slides into your inbox with a happy birthday discount, think about everything we just talked about. What stage of the relationship are they aiming for? Are they trying to build that initial trust, foster your loyalty, or are they just trying to maintain your commitment? It's all part of marketing's new playbook.